welcome to Off Road. Today, our co-host is Andrea Cataneo. Welcome, Andrea.
Hello, hello. Always happy to be here with you, Frank. And I
Great.
can't wait. I can't wait to introduce our guest for today, who, as David Letterman likes to say, this man needs no introduction, but there may actually be a couple of people out there, very few, I'm sure, who don't know the one and only Jim Hock. And we're delighted to have you here, Jim. If I may just say a couple of things, this is a man who has really inspired me so much in the microcap space and working with entrepreneurs and helping companies really get to where they want to without a lot of the mystery. He cuts through the mystery. But anyway, Jim, welcome. We're so happy to
Well,
have
thank
you.
you.
Absolutely
Yeah,
welcome.
it's my pleasure. And I'm looking forward to just having a discussion with you guys. So thank you for having me.
You're welcome. I have to tell you, the first time I met you, I was at a NIBA event. You were speaking in front of the group, and it was my first NIBA event. You don't know the room, you don't know too many of the people in there, and you came out there and you gave the warmest speech possible. The one thing that I really, really like that you said, and I tell this to Andrea all the time, is that when we go to these events, we're here to work and we should be leaving really tired because we should be meeting every single person in that room. And if you're not tired when you leave, then you did the wrong thing by yourself. And when you said that, that made me feel like, hey, you know something? I belong here. I need to speak to everyone in the room. That just made
Exactly.
me feel so comfortable. And it just gave me a good vibe throughout the whole conference. Just to let you know that. I know I never spoke to you about that, but just
Well,
let you
thank
know
you.
that.
Well, I can comment on that if you like.
Sure, yeah.
Look, I'm a big believer in exposure and awareness for companies, okay? And even, every attendee at a conference, any conference, I always say should have a game plan, meaning awareness of a company is critical. No one's going to raise your money. No one's going to support you unless they know who you are. It's as simple as that.
Eyeballs.
And if you're an attendee, whether you're an investment bank, a securities attorney, an auditor, an IR group, a stock transfer agent, you're there to see companies and hopefully create a relationship and maybe get some business out of it and help one another. Well, it is essential, I believe, that if you're going to go to a conference, not just NIBA, but all the others, set some goals. Why are you going? Actually, physically write down, I want to meet 10 companies. I want to meet 10 influencers. I want to meet 10, what would I say, social impact funds, whatever the case may be. Set a goal. And guess what? Go get it. Go do it. But just to go to a conference to hang around and say hi to everybody who you know already, to me, that's worthwhile because relationship building is critical. But get up and go and be aggressive and meet as many influential people as you can, because you know what? You're going to benefit from it. Because one relationship can lead to two. Two can compound to four, four to eight, et cetera, et cetera. That's the proper way of attending conferences.
Yeah, and you've always, been the voice of reason in that regard. And one of the things that always impressed me, Jim, is how you boiled down a lot of the things that you learned from helping much bigger companies many years ago. And
Yep.
would you mind sharing a little bit of that with us? Because I think one of the things that makes you so different is you can look at these smaller companies from a different perspective, give them hope, but also give them a path that's kind of different than lots of other folks that do what you do in the space of advising and investor relations and the whole umbrella of all of that guidance.
One of the, I always, you learn from people, right, who you respect.
Yeah.
I always felt blessed that, my days with Citicorp, okay?
Yeah.
And the chairman at the time was Walter Wriston, who, in my mind, was one of the greatest visionaries. I had the pleasure of meeting on a few occasions, but listening to him speak at times. And one tidbit that came back to me that apparently he said, they were talking about private companies, public companies, etc. He said, even if you're a private company, act like you're a public company.
Mm.
And to me, that just hit me. Okay. It just made so much sense because if you're private, what is your goal? You may want to be acquired one day, you may want to go public one day, or both, but you want to position yourself to have the ability to raise capital, as time goes on, because
The transparency that you speak of is what makes a private company more believable. It makes them more trustworthy. It makes them, just the fact that when you're public, you're obligated to kind of wear your heart on your sleeve, and anything that happens, you have to disclose it. You bring up such an important point, and I didn't realize that that came, from your relationships back in, Walter Wriston. You've brought him up frequently as someone who really had an impact on the way you bring this vision and all this work to smaller companies. But man, it's the transparency. Like, if these smaller companies would be comfortable showing the world what's going on behind the curtain, investors are going to be more comfortable investing. It's just like, why does the Securities and Exchange Commission demand audited financials? It's because investors deserve not to be surprised. And you're alluding to, hey, why don't we just be transparent? Why don't we disclose as a private company and keep our ducks in a row, be organized,
well,
have a,
what it's going to do when you're a small private company, let's say, okay,
yep.
you want to differentiate yourself. What you're selling is the opportunity you're bringing to the table,
Mm-hmm.
because let's say you're early stage. Well, you don't have really a track record or a history. So what you're selling is the opportunity of what you can do, what your game plan is, what your business model is. That's why you're looking for capital for expansion, right?
Yep.
So differentiate yourself. Have the elements that people are going to be attracted to. Now, if you can afford audited financials, that's wonderful. But create an awareness program so that capital will find you if your business model is viable. And if you don't do that, look, as you've heard me say this, Andrea, raising capital is the hardest job in the world.
Yeah.
And most companies spend way too much time and way too much money in trying to raise money, and they fail. Why? They don't understand that the capital markets, it's a system, it's a methodology. It's there to provide capital to companies. It's knowing how to get it that's critical.
Already listed on an exchange but feel lost among companies clamoring for media attention? Tired of going from city to city hoping your story will find its way to the global market? If so, Corporate Roadshow has the answer. Quick, affordable, and without all the road trips. We are the perfect choice for promising public companies looking to gain exposure as a public entity. It all starts with a top-flight presentation. You've worked hard to create an exciting product or service. Now it's time to impress the capital markets with a professionally produced video presentation at corporateroadshow.com. We help you select the production format that's right for you. It may be a one-on-one interview with top management, or a presentation in front of business professionals, or a video conference interview. Whichever way you go, rely on corporateroadshow.com to execute the arrangements to perfection. We professionally videotape and edit your presentation. Then we add eye-catching graphics and music, then digitize the video for broadcast on corporateroadshow.com. Think about it. An exciting corporate presentation targeted to the global business community. And you get a digitized version of that presentation, which enables you to email your presentation to any database you choose. We at Corporate Roadshow pride ourselves on possessing creativity and know-how necessary for the production of quality video presentations. Whether it be hosting your video or producing a webcast in the latest broadband technology, Corporate Roadshow is dedicated to applying our tools and talents toward facilitating the exchange of your ideas. It all adds up to global exposure, all courtesy of corporateroadshow.com. Go to www.corporateroadshow.com today and see for yourself. With corporateroadshow.com, you get worldwide exposure for your company without traveling the world, and it's all just a mouse click away.
You know what you do that I love, Jim, and I don't see anyone else. We need to be doing this more, not just people who serve on boards and people who are in the industry, but you rehearse companies
Yep.
before they get up and present. And that's really, I know how much of a difference that makes when a CEO actually takes the time to time themselves. Hey, I've got 10 minutes, or if it's a different type of presentation, I've got 20 minutes, whatever it may be, to actually rehearse it and practice it in front of a mirror, practice it in front of someone who is an
Exactly.
expert like you, and get
100%.
feedback.
Well, we make our whole staff, there's 14 of us, in Hanover International, my company, right?
Mhm.
And when we bring a company to NIBA or any conference, yeah, they're going to be rehearsed. We're going to take their presentation and rip through it because we need them to put their best foot forward. So the time that they have in presenting their company, they're going to get the best reaction. That's just preparation. That's a no-brainer.
Jim, I tell
Yeah.
you one thing, having done these road shows for so many years, I 100%, and I do this with companies because I cannot believe some companies come so unprepared.
Yeah.
That's the
Sad.
one thing that blows my mind. I mean, these companies will tell you for a month how much they want to raise money, how much they want to do this, how everything's going on, and they come with nothing. Like,
You have one chance to make that first impression. Jim, like I've heard you say, if you fail to plan,
Oh, that's
you plan to fail. That's Jim
absolutely.
Hock all the way. And it's so true.
that is a line. A line. That is something I heard so many years ago.
Uh-huh.
Okay. I mean, a lot of years ago. And that's the one statement that hit me between the eyes. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail.
Yeah.
And it is so true. And that is why to this day, I am a big planner. I mean, I'll give you an example. Every Saturday from 6 in the morning to 12 o'clock, I call that Jim's time. And that's my planning hours because I know exactly what I'm going to be doing the following week from every hour of every single day. And I have not deviated from that 50 years because to me, it was one of my best lessons that I've ever learned. Planning is critical.
Ah,
Even when you go to a conference, as I
yeah.
said before,
Yeah.
plan for it. Just don't go to say, hey, how you doing? Right? Plan. Study
Yeah.
the companies that are going to be there prior that you can get a list of and the attendees. And then you can sit there and say, okay, I want to meet them and them and them. And you're planning your conference. To me, that's the best way to get the most out of it.
100%. And that's why people see in you, hey, this guy's on top of things. His organization is organized. And that's the impression that someone will make if they show up with a plan, if they've blocked some time, if they scheduled meetings. A lot of the things that I know you do at Hanover, you're tight. The organization is tight. You
That's the
and
beauty.
Kathy,
Yeah.
the meetings that are scheduled in advance and the information that's circulated and everybody that does their homework. It's kind of a shame because we've been in the industry a while. I, like you, Jim and Frank, I am so driven to help the entrepreneur. Like I am a big believer in capitalism. I love this country. I love that there's so much opportunity, and I want to help them put their best foot forward. But it's not only the things that you're coaching them to do, and that word is overused, that you're advising and training and getting them prepared to do, but you're setting the example. And I just want to commend you for that because
Thank you.
do as I say, not as I do is no way to lead. And you really set such a good example. So
Well,
thank you.
Andrea, thank you, because that's really the Hanover team. I'm blessed. I mean, 14 of us,
But
as
you
you
built
said,
that team.
well,
You
yeah,
built that
but
team.
that was part of my responsibility,
Yeah.
right? But I don't want to get in trouble by, missing names, but Kathy Cusimano, who's president, as far as I'm
Fantastic.
concerned, she is probably the best IR technician out there. Okay. And I've been around the block and she's just keeps it tight, as we say.
Mhm.
And then, the rest of the team, Christina Valari, Jay Schwartz, Jerry Lindbergh, Michael Gibstein, Jolene Anderson. I mean, we really have a tight team. Everybody has an area of expertise and we coordinate those efforts. But I want to go back to something that you said about the entrepreneur. This is where I get really passionate. The entrepreneurial spirit to me is the backbone of this country, always was and always will be. And we
100%.
have to respect that because I'm an entrepreneur. Andrea, you're an entrepreneur. Frank, you're an entrepreneur. We know from experience what it's like to go through starting your own business. It's hard.
Oh,
It's
hard.
hard. And people need to respect that. And being an entrepreneur, I mean, when you really analyze the attributes of an entrepreneur, it's self-respect, self-discipline, self-esteem, and most importantly, persistence. Because nothing is an easy road. You are going to run into certain situations that on the surface, you might think they're insurmountable, but you know what? If you analyze them, you will find a way to overcome them. And so the entrepreneur to me, they're my heroes. And I say that to these companies when they come to NIBA, because I get it. They should be proud that they're there. They should be proud that they have the guts, okay, to come to a conference and get out there and try to expand their business model and meet those people that can help them along the way. So to me, again, the entrepreneurial spirit is, I will defend that until the day I'm not around anymore. End of story. And Andrea, I know you feel the same way.
I so share that passion, and it's the spirit of growth and pushing yourself to do something that you might not in that moment want to do. Like, I don't know if I want to go talk to that person, across the table, or I don't know that I, want to get up in front of this crowd of 300 people and my heart's pounding. But when you push yourself a little bit and all of those things that you said, that self-discipline and that, the self-respect and self-love, I mean, you really do have to have enough. And that confidence does come from just practice. Like you said something earlier that really hit me and landed. And it's the fact that you're allocating time every Saturday to say, okay, I'm going to plan. I'm going to look at my calendar and, make all of that pushing the ball forward contributes to the success of any entrepreneur. And it is sometimes pushing a boulder up a hill, and sometimes you slip a little bit. But what really helps so much, in addition to all of the things you said, is having the good fortune of being surrounded by people like you. You've always been a big brother to me. That's how I've always looked at you. Like, I always knew, no matter what, as a securities lawyer, as an advisor at Hanover International, as someone who's come on calls, we've helped each other. But you're always someone who, and I know so many people feel this way, that they could call Jim and get an honest response. You're not blowing smoke, and getting a compliment from you. Oh my God, that's truth. That would elevate anyone's spirit, because you don't just hand it out like candy. You give people the truth, and not enough people do that. That's what entrepreneurs need. They need that tough love. That's kind of the phrase I was looking for. And it's, I mean, if you have like a story to share, like when I think about all of the companies that you've helped, are there a few that stand out as, stories that really were, that you're proud of?
Yeah.
Share with us.
I'll give you one. It's kind of it relates back to persistence. Okay. This is about 10 years or so ago. We were doing a NIBA conference. I'm going to interject a bit about NIBA. Okay.
Please.
And it's
the man who transformed NIBA. No offense to anyone who's been working so hard, but this NIBA's been around for 50 years.
Yeah.
And Jim, by the way, chairman for the record breaking, I'm going to say 15 years, right?
But
Someone
six-
who's really made, and I don't even want to get into the detail of how much you care, how much you've spent personally. But anyway, back over to you. Thank you for elevating NIBA where it deserves to be. But go
Well,
on.
a lot of help, though. I mean, look, everyone's got to understand NIBA is a volunteer organization. I don't think some people understand that. All of us are volunteers. It's a nonprofit. Andrea is a volunteer on the board, all the board members, everybody who chips in. It's not, we're not for profit, as I said. So we upon all of the members, especially the board of directors and the committees, to make each conference a success. Give you one story, and it affected me. We were doing a conference, and I believe it was in New York, okay, maybe 10, 12 years ago. And when we do a conference, and I have, my time, I hate to say it, but it's, you're running the conference, you're giving speeches, you're attending panels. So the first night, there was a cocktail party, as we always do, after some panels. And this gentleman walked up to me. He said, "I came to this conference to meet you." And of course, I was flattered, right? I said, "Okay, I'm going to be really booked. How about, we get together before the conference is over?" And he said, "Great." So the next day, when the company was giving presentations and then the one-on-ones, he came up to me about 5 times and said, "You have time now?" And I felt bad. And I said, "No, I don't, because we have this schedule now and this schedule now." And it was at the end, and I kind of forgot to be, and I felt bad, but I did. He comes up to me at the cocktail party, the ending cocktail party, where everybody's packing to leave. He said, "Do you have time now?" And I said, "You know what? Yes." And we went off to, now the rooms are empty. We went off to a room, and we sat there for about 30 minutes. And he told me the whole story of the company. They were OTCQB, all the horror shows, everything you can think of. And I really liked this guy. And it was just his passion, right? And we kept in touch. And finally he said, "We'd really like to bring Hanover on to help us." And I said, "You got it." Well, long story short, just from his persistence, today it's $1 billion market cap.
Wow.
True story, right? And that's what can happen. You never know. And that's why I say NIBA, to me, has been a vehicle to help so many companies. Taser, for example,
Yeah.
back in the day. I mean, that's a $50 billion market cap company today, right? So, and I remember when it started at NIBA.
I do too.
Okay. So there's so much to be said about coming to I call it an intimate conference like NIBA. Conferences, they're all good. Again, what you make of them, okay?
So true.
But the essence of NIBA is to have maybe 25 companies, 300 attendees, where every company has an audience of 300, and in the afternoon have a schedule of meeting 10 to 12, either bankers or service providers that can help you. And this way they go home tired, as I always say. Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%. And the intimacy is so real because anyone who's there, Jim, unlike so many other huge distracting conferences, and you're right, they're all good. They all have some elements of wonderful outcomes if you're putting in the time and the follow-up. But anyone at a NIBA conference can legitimately have several encounters and discussions with lots of people. They might meet them at one of the panel discussions. They're sitting next to them. They may see some of the same people at the first cocktail reception, the next morning at breakfast. So by the time they present and have the one-on-ones, they may have already had a few discussions with this investment banker, this broker, this family office, this securities attorney, this, stock transfer agent, and they've already started building a relationship and you leave there. Yes, you leave exhausted, but now you don't just have a bunch of business cards. You're like, I kind of know a bunch of people,
I
which
can't
is
wait
really
to go.
nice.
I'm telling, I just can't wait to be there. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what's coming up in Fort Lauderdale in March?
Sure.
Let's talk about it because I mean, it's going to be a big event.
Oh, no, no doubt. All I'll say, like, and I'll send this over to Jim in a moment, is companies are clamoring and we have a limit for a reason. We don't like to have more than 25 companies because that intimacy that we're talking about, the opportunity to have multiple conversations, to have our, presenting companies have a full dance card for the one-on-ones. We really want to have those connections. And if you have too many companies, it loses that kind of, there's something really sweet. I use that word a lot when I talk about NIBA. There's something really different about that ability to make those really good connections, and we don't want to dilute it. And Jim, you may have more to say about that, but that's what we're hoping for, what we always hope for. We want lots of attendees that could, of course, learn about these companies, get involved, maybe invest, maybe write checks, really soon, hopefully. But it's starting those relationships and not diluting the opportunity for these companies to really make connections.
You know what's the most important part of every conference?
What's that?
What
A
happens after?
follow-up. Yes.
You got it.
Trust
Yep.
me.
Add it out.
Under-
And I just want to shout out to, look, not just me, there's so much.
Emily, oh my God, Emily
Emily,
Fossey,
you
she
know,
works her butt off, and for
Yeah.
26, I didn't realize it was that many years.
Oh, yeah.
But my goodness, what dedication as an executive director to
Yeah.
have seen everything, all the changes, and her husband Scott, who is so polished and professional in introducing companies. The whole vibe has class. That's what I'll say.
Well, the working together. Look, I mean, Emily and I go back now 30 years, whatever. Okay. But your help, the board's help, Carlos' help as co-chair, everybody chips in.
Yeah.
And that is essential to make it all successful. So I'm real proud of NIBA. And I'm going to give you, I'll get specific for you, Frank. Last conference, Hanover brought 5 companies to NIBA
Wow.
to present.
That's
You ready for this?
fantastic.
4 of them now have either engaged for IPOs or one M&A deal we've pulled off. And as of yesterday, one of the firms that were there was confirmed they got a $25 million private placement done.
Whoa.
So, yeah.
Wow.
So
Wow.
you want to talk about what can happen? There you go.
There you go. All
Okay.
right.
So that's what I get really proud seeing. If you put the time and the effort
Yeah.
and you really work it, guess what can happen? And there you go. Proof is in the pudding. So
And it's fun.
And
That's
it's fun.
that's like the part that sometimes we don't mention. It's fun. It's fun. It is gratifying. And Jim, I just can't thank you enough for all you bring. And I feel motivated and anxious to in a good way to get to that next step every time we speak. So thanks for being who you
thank
are.
you for having me.
Jim, it was great having you on. Yeah, this perspective, I love it.
Well, I can't wait to see all of you. We're going to have a great conference, and you need me for anything, let me know. Okay.
Yay,
Hey,
absolutely.
thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Okay.
Have a
Thanks.
great day.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.